If you're anything like...
What if I were to tell you that there's a completely silent, accurate, deadly killing machine that is perfect for assassinating...
Squirrels and rabbits and gophers and anything that's getting into your garden or your trash cans.
That's what I was gonna say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool beans. Beans. Cool beans. Beans. Ancestors protect us.
May they protect you. Hey, no, it opens on you saying, so today we're testing out air rifles, and it comes back to me. All right, guys, the actual video you thought you clicked on. Today we're testing out air rifles. Now, what the heck are these things? Scientists looked at the legendary Red Ryder BB gun, the one responsible for many welts and broken windows over generations across the nation, and they didn't ask themselves if they should. They only asked themselves if they could, and thus we have these air rifles from Utah Airguns. Thank you very much for sending those over to us, Sawyer. Big shout out to you, appreciate you.
Now, in modern times, we see these things being used to hunt down small game, varmints, prairie dogs out to 600 yards even. They're even used a lot in competitions, but today we want to really figure out what is the accuracy on these things like, what is their max effective range, and more importantly, like how deadly are they? And because we're all born here with X and Y chromosomes, you know, we just have this natural urge to figure out what will this do to a human skull. Let's just shoot one.
like a fake one.
A fake one.
Yeah,
obviously.
Just following the script. Well, he didn't survive, but we sure shot a lot. Did what happen is what you expected to happen.
Did I expect what happened to happen?
Thank you.
No, I thought this was actually going to penetrate first round.
The 22?
All of them. Every round we shot, I thought it would penetrate first round, even from 100 yards, and none of them did. And just in case people are curious, because I was like, oh, well, maybe this thing's harder than an actual human skull. Maybe it is. I know they try and get these things as close as possible, but in terms of the thicknesses, they actually are pretty spot on. Like this PV back here is typically about a 1/4 inch thick. I can't remember parietal. I don't know how to pronounce that. I didn't go to medical school.
Parietal.
Which you also just Googled like 30 seconds ago.
Yeah, you know, also maybe Googled it off camera so I could say PB and sound like I knew what I was talking about by, you know, dropping some lingo. But it's typically about a 1/4 inch thick, and back here it is about a 1/4 inch thick. So, what did you think was going to happen?
I thought that 30 cal, even at 100 yards, was going to do far more damage. And granted, the skull was already damaged because we'd been shooting it with the 22 air gun, but even at 100 yards, it's not like it just started ripping it apart. So yeah, it's probably going to give you a headache. Well, probably a little more than a headache. But it did not like open up a wound cavity like I was expecting.
Yeah, and we don't know, like we can't always tell. So the very first few rounds with the 22 air gun, they all glanced off the side. We also don't know what kind of like micro fissures and cracks were put into the skull, but obviously, like, dude, you're probably going to be knocked out and you're probably going to have bleeding in the brain.
Or if you do get shot in the eye.
Yeah, which your first shot was straight in the eye. Yeah. So there's that.
Yeah.
You had a couple of glance off.
This one would have been the 30 cal.
Yeah.
Very like clean entry wound. And I'm curious about.
You just want to stab it, right?
No, I want to see. That's what I want to see. Let me carve this out of here.
Just scalp it, dude. Nice slit and then pull.
Oh, dude, it definitely.
Is the round still in it?
Yeah. Oh, dear, hold on. It definitely opened. The hollow point 100% opened. Oh, darn. It just didn't penetrate the skull, but look at all that stuff in there. Yeah, that'd leave a dent on your ops core.
Bad hair.
Oh no, wait a minute. It 100% cracked the skull.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. Even still, did all of that damage.
Was it the 22, Nick, or was it the 30 that bounced back? It was the 22.
The 22 bounced back.
Yeah, so one of your shots, and we can actually see it hit and bounced back at us.
That was 30.
That was
22. Yeah, all the 22
before
rounds.
we reset.
Saw the.
We shot 22
skull.
first.
No.
Yeah,
it was,
that was the
it was
first
one of your last round, like.
But I remember saying, you said we'll probably be able to see it bounce off, and I remember saying, Yeah, and 30 is probably moving just a little bit slower, so probably can.
This is 22.
This is the 22.
This is 22.
What about $1?
Yeah.
About $1 on it.
About $1 on it.
All right.
All right.
High stakes.
So we have seen footage of the 30 cals dumping coyotes when they get shot in the face with these. But obviously the human anatomy, and this is not perfect human anatomy, but it's not going to be the same.
It's not the same, you're right. Okay, so in summation, shooting the 22 air gun at 100 meters or 100 yards, sorry. Didn't see any like serious penetration. At 50, same story, although finally on one of the shots it did kind of punch through.
After I'd shot it multiple times
Exactly.
in the same spot.
Softened it up. 25 immediate. 30 cal. What did we see on 30 cal?
It's on the right side.
That's when it bounced off on the head.
So those
It
are all
went
the
thwack,
30
thwack,
cal.
thwack. I put multiple rounds right here, the second one of which bounced off, remember?
Yep. Yeah, look at this. Look at all this lead.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no bueno. And then, finally, the 30 cal did punch through at 100. And at 25, the 30 cal.
I was expecting the 22, which we shot in the back of the neck.
22 long rifle.
22 long rifle, one hit was right back here. Did not penetrate, even on a softened up skull. That was surprising.
So, should we wrap up the deadly component? Is an air gun more, less, or just as deadly as 22 long rifle? What would you say based on this one sample size of one test?
At a comparable distance, yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, I would too. Yep, without a doubt, the harder hitting 30 cal going around 900 feet per second, without a doubt is going to do more damage. But, oh gosh.
Look at that.
Like an operation.
Yeah.
Dude, that is bad.
It's just as deadly, but if you can't hit it, it's kind of worthless. How accurate are these things?
Guys, if you want to save some money on some pretty awesome gear, there's a couple of companies that sponsor this channel. One of those being Silent. Now, I just I fully decked out this e-bike. There's a video coming on that later. But one of the things that I added was a Silent dry bag that's also a Faraday bag. Just taking it out and testing it through the hills here and, you know, getting ready to take it out for some overnight stuff, even in rainy weather. I can store my drones in here. I can store my drone batteries, which is great. I can also store a cell phone because a lot of times I'll use cell phone for GPS navigation and just finding trails, especially if I'm using like certain apps. But any kind of device like that, unless it's truly air gapped, is still susceptible. So being able to throw it into a Faraday bag to block all potential signal coming out of it is a huge win. So definitely check out Silent if you're interested in Faraday bags, dry bags. In my opinion, they make the best in the world, hands down. Now, one thing you guys may not know is that we just wrapped up filming our first short film. It will be debuting on this channel soon. In that film, you will see a lot of two products from two different companies, one of them being Steel Industries. That's who we go to for all of our night vision needs. We have spent hundreds, probably at this point thousands of hours under nods, and those guys are just incredible. Great customer service. They have an actual physical location in Florida that you can go to, look through the nods before you purchase, and just an excellent place to buy night vision. So check them out, and night vision accessories. And also Wetworks. Wetworks makes some of the dopest nylon gear in the game. I love that guy, the guy that runs it. He hand sews everything himself. It's incredible. We use their Wraith hoodies a lot on this channel, and we use it a lot out in the field. Also their nods retention devices and their plate carriers, especially the slick ones, are just like, they're money. So all these sponsors, big shout out, big thanks to them. If you want to save some money, it's in the description, codes and all that stuff, hit them up.
It's about a 1-inch group at 100 yards. That's pretty good. 22 air gun. Granted, I had a higher magnification optic, but regardless of what you're doing, for an air gun, holy cats, Batman, that's really good.
I've never heard that phrase.
22 long rifle. You didn't see those old school Batmans where he was
holy
like,
cats.
holy cats, Batman, because Catwoman?
Never heard holy cats. I met Adam West in real life at a chess tournament in Murray, Kentucky whenever I was in 5th grade. Like very old and wrinkly, and I didn't recognize him. My dad had to point him out to me because all the 70s videos that I'd seen of him, he was young. And it was actually kind of scary.
Oh, did you finish?
Yeah.
Oh, thank God. A little over a 1-inch group for 6 times magnification on the 16-inch 22 long rifle, but that was not that bad. And then for an air gun, that's probably right under 1 inch. So are they accurate? To answer the question, it is still just 22. It is just an air gun, but yeah, I would say so. These things are quite accurate. And you could get muzzle velocities and put speeds in your Kestrel, and you could have dope for these things and start practicing wind calls and shooting small targets, prairie dogs or squirrels or whatever it is that you want to do. And for the accuracy component, yeah, the accuracy is definitely there for training or pest control. I'm actually quite impressed.
Me too. Especially with you being the shooter.
Oh, thanks, dude. I was the best I could do. I'm still trying.
It's only as accurate as you are, Josh.
Oh man, that's a good one. How accurate is it? It's only accurate as you are. I corrected myself. So we were shooting at 50 yards, not 100, which for 22 and 22 air gun is still fairly impressive. So this is not sub MOA. That would be a half inch, or less than a half inch at 50 yards would be sub MOA, which even still, all those rounds, about an inch. It's about 2 MOA at 50 yards. That was pretty darn good. And then you get up to 22 with 6 times magnification on that gun. Again, a good group, but the air gun is doing better. Probably helps that you have more magnification on there.
Let's move on.
Sure, be honest. Could you have reached it to begin with?
Yeah.
All right, guys, before we get into the why and how these things work, I just want to give you one more little nerd fact since I enjoy that kind of thing. So a 44.5 grain projectile out of this 30 cal going about 950 feet per second produces roughly 90 foot-pounds of energy. Now it's cool for an air gun, but that's not a whole ton. For comparison, a 55 grain projectile coming out of a 5.56 going 3,000 plus feet per second, we tend to get 1,100 to 1,200 foot-pounds of energy. So do not liken this to a 5.56. It is significantly closer to a 22 long rifle, but they are very accurate, and how they work is just compressed air. So with that being said, let's dive into how these things actually work. All right, the 1,000-foot view of how these actually work. Remember when you had your Daisy Red Ryder BB gun, you would actually pump it, and all your friends would be like, hey, just one pump only if we're shooting our friends. And if you're shooting that squirrel, man, give that sucker like 12 pumps, even though 10 was the max. It's the same idea. Instead of having a canister inside that you had to fill by pumping, we just take essentially a scuba tank and fill up the canister that's on the gun with compressed air. And then every time you cock it, it allows air to flow into its own canister back here, and you're putting a certain amount of PSI or air pressure behind the projectile. Then when you pull the trigger, all of the air in this canister back here escapes, pushes your projectile. Again, once you cock it, the larger canister feeds it once over and over again. So you carry all of that extra air on the gun itself. You just need a high power air compressor to actually refuel your essentially scuba tank, take a hose, plug it up, and gas this thing back up. But there's a lot more that goes into how these things actually work. You have a lot of dials that you can visualize here and fine tune how much pressure you actually have, as well as the strength of your hammer spring that's starting to hit your projectile and everything else that goes into it, to really fine tune the accuracy, as well as, hey, I don't want to over penetrate this squirrel because I was just shooting coyotes. You can start to dial that up or down, as well as shooting greater distances. You can dial up that pressure. Same ideas with that Red Ryder BB gun. Hey, I just want to give this 1 or 2 pumps as opposed to the full 10 or 12. There's our wavetop overview of how this actually works. Now there's another cool handful of features in here. For example, one that you can see right now, the handguard actually has ARCA on it. So we're able to throw bipods on here or clip into tripods. There's M-LOK on here, so if you want to start putting lights and lasers, if you want to put a laser up on the top, man, you could absolutely do that as well. There's also sling mounts that are built in, so we can see kind of a high-quality premium feel starting to be applied to the airgun capabilities. Now, something else that you may notice up on the front is the fact that there is a suppressor. These are actually only rated for airgun capabilities, and we can tell you that there is a fairly noticeable sound difference.
Yeah.
You got to think about it this way. What does a suppressor do? All it's doing is it's trapping, expanding gas, and it gives a chamber for that gas to fill into in an enclosed space before it then exits out everywhere else. Well, the same thing is happening on an airgun. We have compressed air that's exploding and it's expanding down the barrel. And once it reaches a space where it can start to expand and take up the room that it wants to, it's doing it inside of its own chamber. So it's funny that there's suppressors on these airguns. You're probably only getting a decibel or 2 of difference But whatever that number is that you're actually getting, it is noticeable at the human ear, which is kind of crazy to me, even with the fact that these rounds are still subsonic.
And yet, this is still not an NFA item.
No, it's not, because it's not rated, it's not capable to actually work on a firearm.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to wrap up talking about the suppressors that aren't actually suppressors.
No, they
definitely won't work.
They don't work. I can tell you firsthand.
Yeah.
They do not.
No.
They sure don't.
No, don't.
A 22 for sure wouldn't.
So the magazines, they're actually kind of cool. The 22 version fits in a Zen can, which is actually pretty rad, especially if you're trying to go incognito and stash one of these air guns underneath the floorboard of a third-story building and hide the other stuff in your normal. Anyways, the magazines have given us issues throughout the day.
They're a rotary style. Basically, anyone who's familiar with like the old Russian or Chinese AK drum mags, where you have to like wind the spring and drop rounds in, same idea.
Yeah. So it's kind of a pain, but not a deal breaker, in my opinion.
No.
Very manageable.
Well, it's not necessarily an issue. My next complaint is, at least on this M4, which is ironically named an M4, is that the safety is backwards. Not true on the 22, not the dynamic, but when you typically would click down for fire, this one is safe. So when it comes to training, there's a few little things that I would like to change, if that were to be the case. I understand that they're not building these for the sake of, AR guys going out and training, but the fact that it's opposite of like every other gun in this platform, and not only does it say safe fire in that correct direction or opposite direction, that's actually how it works. So what's on the script?
Why air gun and cost?
Drew just told the raunchiest joke.
No, it was not raunchy.
It wasn't raunchy. It was
Yeah, it was raunchy.
It was,
Yeah.
And it was really good, and it caught all of us off guard.
Yeah.
We're having a hard time getting back to the video.
We're gonna have to be held accountable at Bible study tonight for that one.
You're right.
I already feel guilty.
Yeah. Steve's gonna love that one.
I can see him laughing. I can hear him laughing in my teeth.
And Kutch is gonna love it too.
All right, so why are we even talking about air guns? Well, I'll be honest, they weren't even on my... Are you still laughing at the joke I told earlier? Okay. To be honest, they weren't even on my radar until about last year when one of our good buddies, Sawyer Clark, very, very proficient shooter, a guy we respect a lot, came on staff at Utah Air Guns. Just step out of the frame, thank you. And he kind of put air guns on our radar, and they sent us a couple of these. We did not pay for them at all, and because of that, we're not going to say like, oh, you should go out and buy one, because they are kind of expensive. We'll get into the cost later, but they are awesome little tools, and I think it's important to understand what is available out there, especially when we talk about unregistered weapons. Not to mention they can be used for tons of stuff around the house, around the farm, even just for small game hunting, which is a pretty big plus. You're about to make me laugh because I know you're trying not to.
Fighting so hard, man. I'm never gonna forget that. We've been shooting them so much.
We've been killing all sorts of critters with them. We just ended up like, oh, we got to get rid of that.
Copperheads, groundhogs, skunks
that love to burrow underneath my house,
possums,
and spray their stuff, and it seeps up through the floorboards, and the whole first floor smells like
all of the sparrows that sit in the carport that poop on your car. It's kind of endless. We have done enough pest control that we kind of fell in love with the guns. Not to mention the fact that you can shoot these. Now we get into a little bit more of the why, but they're so quiet.
Yeah. Now there are some states that have banned air guns.
That's
I think
true.
Jersey, I could be wrong.
California, there's a few of them, so you're gonna have to check. But when they sent these to us, they did get shipped right to our house. So at least here in Tennessee, yeah, man, they're not a firearm. While they are serialized for the sake of the company actually keeping track of was this one damaged or whatever else, they're not serialized in the way that they have to go through an FFL for most states. Now, for other states, they would be considered such. But if you happen to live in a free state, man, these get shipped right to your door as well as the ammo and everything else too.
And it came shipped to our door completely dialed in with a little card that said, hey, this is what it's zeroed for, this is what it was zeroed with, this is the average muzzle velocity. I don't know if they do that for everyone, but they should. So if you do end up going and buying one of these, just put in like the little comment section, hey, watch the Dirty Civilian video. They said to make sure Sawyer Clark personally test fires my gun that I'm purchasing and make sure it's perfect right out of the gate. Make sure you put that on his plate. I'm sure he will be really happy.
Happy to do it.
Yeah. So this FX Dynamic, which was the 22 caliber that we shot, it comes in at right around 1800, right?
Without the optic.
Without the optic. What's this one coming in at?
2200.
So it's significantly more expensive than a normal gun.
You can go buy a nice BCM without an optic for about that same price point. So you're spending some money.
I think some of the benefits, though, are the fact that it's completely unregulated, obviously. We keep on restating that fact.
Right.
But I don't know if they do this or not, but they really should sell something to where you can kind of cast or mold your own ammo. Because if you have lead and you can melt it down and you can make your own ammo for it, and if you have electricity and an air compressor, like, you're pretty good to go. It's almost like an infinite ammo hack.
Yeah. And that would be nice just because the ammo cost for each of these, you're looking at between 12 and 18 cents a round. It's not as expensive as 5.56, but it's still more expensive than 22 long rifle. So it's going to hurt a little bit if you're buying thousands of rounds of it, but
it's also not the kind of ammo that's going to be flying off the shelves. So if there's an ammo crunch and you can't get 22 like it was for the longest time, if you can't get 5.56, it's like, hey, you can still have a lethal projectile weapon and you're just buying pellets.
Yeah. And you can absolutely get small game like you would be with your 22.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or large game.
All right, use case. Probably as you have seen here in this video, they're a boatload of fun. Now, anyone who's going to have the money to go buy multiple ARs, bro, I would encourage you to diversify a little bit and get something like this. Get something else that is obviously fun, but you have a variety of capabilities. So it's ultra quiet, and you can buy ammo that's not standard 5.56, 9mm, or 22 that everyone else is trying to buy as well. It's really compact and it's lightweight, which adds to the fact that if you have kids or your wife and you're just trying to teach, let's talk about reticles, let's talk about optics, let's talk about wind or good trigger control. Any of those kinds of things, if you're wanting to upgrade from, say, an airsoft gun, you can absolutely do those kinds of things, that level of training with this. If I were to shoot this at 100 yards on paper or on steel in a bunch of different kinds of environments, I know that I would learn a lot more about wind and just trying to read what's going on around me and be a lot more attuned to it, just because that lighter bullet is more susceptible to the wind itself. So is there training value? Yeah, absolutely. You just need to be able to apply yourself to it. The biggest upside that I see here, unless you're going to go compete, or unless you have a ton of varmints that need to be taken care of, is the fun factor. And if you can't shoot your 5.56 that you're going to go spend another $3,000 on, consider something like this, because it is not a firearm. And in some states, discharging, if you live in a certain county where you can't actually shoot a gun.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, if you've got an acre of property and you want to go shoot in your own backyard, no neighbor is going to hear this go off, and you're not actually discharging firearms.
This would have been perfect for popping those rats at the homestead.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like taking over all the food.
Right. Yeah, throw some night vision capabilities on here.
Yeah.
That'd be sick.
It would, thermal. To all of our Patreon supporters, thank you very much. If you're not involved with Patreon, it's about $5 a month, and you get early access and behind the scenes for all of our videos, all of our content, completely ad-free. You might even get some sneak peeks of our upcoming short film that we have been working on. It's okay to start talking about that, right?
I'm not editing it.
Okay, yeah, that's me and Nick. So hit up Patreon. We've got a great little community going on there, and we have some awesome chats, and it's just great. It's just a good time. So that being said,
Dad advice?
dad advice. I was kind of rude to my kids this morning. Maybe you should take some of the dad advice. I was just... they kind of got on my nerves this morning, and I snapped at one of them, and I had to apologize. Maybe that's the dad advice. Don't be above apologizing. It teaches them how to apologize. It does. And you're not perfect. And they need to know that.
No, that ain't it.
I'll use a matchstick, light it, turn it upside down, let it go up a little bit, and then just scrape it along the ear. It's great.
What?
Yeah, it's how you singe your ear hair out.
Do you blow?
I've got 10 years on you, man.
Do
They
you blow
start
it out?
going. Well, no, you don't blow it out, because then the flame's gone. It's the flame that cauterizes all the hair.
You're putting a flame in your ear?
Yeah.
How deep?
You're just brushing it along the surface where all the little micro hairs grow. You've never done that before?
Have you ever done that before?